Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the NBA front office show, the Ben Simmons saga. You know, it continues. Goran Dragic might not be staying in Toronto for the entire season. Could be on the trade block already. A lot of things to break down. Keith, we've got preseason play starting up this weekend. That's exciting, and a lot more things going on off the court still, too. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing good. We kind of have preseason play. Frank Vogel came out and said a lot of guys aren't
Well,
playing.
yeah.
So, so much for that. But hey, some bad basketball is better than no basketball. So we'll take it after, not having any basketball at all for the last month or
Hey,
so.
I was
So,
just surprised that
but
Anthony Davis wasn't on the list of guys not playing. That
I was a
he's
little
going to play a
surprised
little
too.
bit.
Clearly it means he's not a valued big member of the
Must be
Lakers
it.
and they don't see big things out of him. So which makes sense. They're forcing him to play the five.
Yeah,
And I see a trade demand coming pretty soon. Maybe he wants to go back to New
I'm
Orleans.
sure that's what it
But
is.
all right, we got to do it.
Uh-oh. Oh no. Oh no.
The Simmons
Oh,
siren.
it's back.
All right. We got a little bit of Simmons news. As expected, they're not going to pay him.
Yeah.
They are going to make him wait to take that money. What they're doing is they're putting that $8.25 million that he is owed effectively today per his contract, and they're going to put it in an escrow account. Then any fines and things like that come out of that will or incur will come out of that money, and that's where it's going to go from here. So we'll see. This is going to turn into a messy legal fight,
Yeah.
and we'll see what this does. This is certainly not, I don't think, going to encourage him to show up. There's been some rumors that maybe he could have shown up and said, "Oh, my back's hurting again," and just kind of gone that route. But credit to him, he's basically saying, "I'm not going to be shady. I'm just not coming."
Yeah, I mean he's being forthright about it and everything, but I don't know. We'll see how much that financial hit hurts if it's something that eventually makes him show up. It doesn't sound like it though. It sounds like he's pretty resolute in his
Yeah.
decision that he's done. So we'll see where this goes. I
Yep.
mean, ultimately this is going to wind up in a trade. We just don't know when.
Yep. That's exactly it. So, but that's really kind of the extent of that update. There's not a whole heck of a lot more. Nothing than what we covered in the last show, which was basically the same stuff. Joel Embiid had some things to say and all that stuff. So this hasn't it's not like it got better in the last 24 hours or so. It certainly is just where it is. Other news piece though, maybe another guy on the trade
Yeah.
block, Goran Dragic, Toronto Raptors. We expected him to be flipped almost immediately upon getting to Toronto. There was a thought maybe he would end up in Dallas,
Hmm.
and then that didn't happen. And what TSN up in Canada is saying is now the Raptors still hope to trade Dragic for an asset or two by the trade deadline. So we'll see where that goes. Nick Nurse, for what it's worth, says Dragic has been great in camp. They're excited to have him. They see him playing with Fred VanVleet,
Hmm.
or he could anchor their second unit scoring. So kind of the same role he's had for a while now in the NBA as a scoring point guard and playing that role. But so my guess is he'll play and prove that he's still good and healthy and all that stuff with Toronto, and then they'll eventually trade him at some point down the
Yeah,
line.
they're gonna wait until an injury happens or something like that, and someone finds themselves
Yep.
needing a point guard, and then they'll make the move at that point, which makes sense. I know we were anticipating him going to the Mavs, and the Mavs added Frank Ntilikina, so who knows where he goes right now. It looks like though, as soon as there is some sort of an injury that leaves a team in need of a point guard, which looking around the NBA, not a lot of teams need that right now, but as soon as a team does
Yep.
need one, they're probably going to be calling the Toronto Raptors.
Yeah, going all the way back to Dennis Schroeder having a little bit of trouble finding home
Exactly.
with the team. It was pretty clear the NBA was fairly well stocked for the time being with point guards. So teams are doing pretty well. Interesting little transaction out of Philadelphia. Not a Ben Simmons trade, thus no Simmons siren. But it is they did something you're going to see some happen here in the next let's call it 2 weeks before rosters need to be
Hmm.
finalized for the regular season. They signed Haywood Highsmith and then immediately turned around and waived Haywood Highsmith. And this is the kind of thing they do so that they can give them that affiliate player language so that they can get that bonus if the player goes to training camp with them, which Technically, he did.
Yeah.
And then if he goes and stays in the G League with their G League team. So you're going to start seeing moves like that happen here in the next little bit. The Detroit Pistons re signed guard Davidas Servitas, who had been with them all last year and then turned around a couple days later and waived him. And then they brought Jared Cunningham. His name may be familiar to people. He's been on and off NBA rosters for a number of years now. But this is all about lining guys up for the G League teams.
Yeah, and that's what it is. It's about that Exhibit 10 language, and that allows them to get a little bit of extra money, that extra incentive to not go overseas, to stick with the team, stay in their system, and that's what we'll see from a lot of teams. Most teams aren't going to do it quite as quick as that, as far as sign a guy and then cutting them. For most teams, you'll see the player play during preseason with them, and then they'll be one of the guys that gets cut right before the season starts, and then they'll wind up with the club's G League squad, and that's how they run it from there, and they'll try to develop them through the G League.
Yep. Speaking of another cut in G League related, Justin James, who had signed with the Utah Jazz to fill one of their open two-way spots. He had been with the Kings for his first couple years of his career. He was waived by the Jazz. So that one's a little interesting because you don't usually see a two-way move made like that. Yeah. So that could be something where he got a better offer somewhere that he's open to taking and going overseas or something like that. So we'll keep an eye on what happens with the Jazz now. I have a two-way spot. They've got some interesting guys in camp. You can go back and listen. Trevor and I did a very long episode, but we covered all 30 teams and their camp guys and who might be fighting for the last roster spots and two-way spots and things like that there. Speaking of camp signings, San Antonio Spurs signed Nate Renfro to a camp deal. So San Antonio had one of the few teams with an open roster spot still left. So they're going to bring him in. He may be lined up for their second two-way contract. They've got Joe Wieskamp on one of their two-way spots there, who was drafted by them, and then we'll see if Renfro gets that other one.
And then we also had a little update from Mark Stein on the Dallas Mavericks, still looking at trying to clear a roster spot there, where they've got to get rid of somebody, looking like it's going to be Trey Burke. That would involve them eating about $6 million in salary, but Stein did report that they really tried to move him this offseason, tried to find a trade, did not find one. They're going to continue to try to find some team to move him to, but sounds like he's probably going to be the guy to go in the event that they're unsuccessful in trying to trade him.
And that was one of the kind of projections we had, thinking that maybe made a little bit of sense. The other guys were younger options there and kind of know what you have in Trey Burke. You, in effect, replaced him with Jalen Brunson's ascension last year as the smaller scoring guard. And then defensively, Frank Ntilikina is a much better player, so you've got him. Also, Trey Burke came out and said he's not going to get vaccinated, and we don't know how that plays into this decision, but that could be part of it as well. They may be saying, all right, we're not going to deal with it, and we'll figure this out. Final piece of transaction news, Nasir Little. This is something else we're going to be seeing quite a bit of over the next couple weeks. He had his team option for the 2022-23 season picked up. So once again, a reminder, if guys are on rookie scale contracts, their options get picked up effectively a year in advance. They have to be picked up. Those all have to be exercised by October 31st is the deadline to do that. So you could take it into a couple weeks into the season, and occasionally that happens. But if you feel good about a guy and you know he's a part of your rotation or part of your team, get those picked up. So we'll start seeing those get picked up. There's about, if I remember it, there's probably somewhere around 50-ish or so still on the table to be picked up. The vast majority of these will be exercised and picked up. It's pretty rare that we see guys get rookie scale exceptions decline. There's usually about 2 or 3 per draft class.
Right, yeah. So we just expect that there's going to be a lot of these coming in the next few weeks. And I guess the final thing, Keith, we talked about this a little bit yesterday. The Wizards offer for Bradley Beal should be coming anytime now, the extension offer for him, and then we'll see what winds up happening with that. Now that we are officially, this is crazy, into October.
Yeah, I know. October 1st, unbelievable. Yeah, I can't believe it. Yeah, our daughter came home and she's like, first quarter of school's already over. And that's just, also a little mind-blowing there as well. But yeah, October 1st, which officially means the NBA season starts this month.
That's right. That's right. It sure does. And again, we've got preseason play kicking off this weekend. Sunday, you've got Nets versus Lakers. Yeah, there's going to be a few guys out for the Lakers, including LeBron and Russell Westbrook. I'm sure the Nets will hold out most of their stars as well. But still, it should be a fun time.
Absolutely, yeah, yeah. It's preseason's good to get a look at that first look at new faces and new places as
Mhm.
well as rookies. Get our first look at some of the rookies and those kind of things, and we'll be breaking all that down as we go and get a sense of who looked good and who didn't. And every once in a while you can glean a little bit of
Sure.
rotation stuff out of it, but you don't want to overreact to too much in the preseason just because it's better than I think preseason NFL in a lot of
Yeah.
ways, but you don't want to go crazy. Like it's because some guys are going to sit out, some guys are not going to play. The Celtics they're playing the minimum of 4 preseason games and would prefer, as far as I know, organizationally, I know at least under Brad Stevens, they only wanted to play a couple.
Yeah.
And they really liked that last year that's all that they had to play. But they're 4 because they'd rather spend the time on practicing and doing stuff themselves. So we'll see, how teams treat this and approach it. It's usually kind of nobody really plays in the first one, or they
Yeah.
make a cameo, and then next couple you'll start to see some guys, and then that last one, pending when it is, you might see it be a lot of guys towards the back end of the roster. But we'll be watching that over the next 2 weeks.
Absolutely. It's going to be fun. In terms of how much to, read into it, it means more than a summer league game. But
Sure.
certainly not as much as say regular season or anything like that. Teams are gonna a lot of play. You'll see a lot of stars kind of go through the motions and stuff in preseason. Just do what they can to get through it unscathed and then go from there.
That's it. Yep. Get in, get your work done, get out healthy.
Ab-
That's the important thing.
Absolutely. I hope the Baltimore Ravens heard that. Oh, poor J.K. Dobbins and Gus
Oh
Edwards and
man.
everybody else. Bummer. All right.
Well, that's a different show.
That is a completely different show. Well, everybody, we appreciate it. Before we close up here today, I want to say thank you all for your support. We appreciated all the kind words that we got on our last video when we were talking about show length and all that. Obviously, this is a shorter show because there's not a whole lot to update on today. So shorter show, but we appreciate all the comments on that. Let us know, guys, what do you prefer in terms of the length of the show? And don't forget, make sure you do subscribe as well as we continue to grow this channel. We certainly appreciate all of you subscribing, turning on notifications, and joining us on this journey. Can't wait for the regular season to start up because we've got all kinds of fun stuff planned. Keith, I think that's it to send us off into a weekend, huh?
That's it. Everybody enjoy the weekend. Get out of it healthy and
That's
safe.
right.
And we'll see you back when there's big news to break down, or Monday, whichever comes first.
Whichever comes first. See you, everybody, and stay safe.